This is ABC7 News at 7, your Suncoast News. We're here for you.
It's such a gray area right now for everybody, and I think that's what's stopping a lot of people from getting the help that they actually need.
Access denied. Medical marijuana is legal in Florida, yet the city of Sarasota is extending a ban on access to the drug. Could this decision violate state law, and what will it take to make this legal medicine more accessible to those who need it here on the Suncoast? Good evening, everyone. I'm Alan Cohn, and welcome to ABC7 at 7. We'll have more on medical marijuana implementation coming up. But first, our top 7 stories at 7, and we begin with the latest on the fight over medical marijuana in Florida. Orlando trial lawyer John Morgan is following through on his threat to sue the state over the continued ban on smoking medical marijuana. In implementing the constitutional amendment, lawmakers banned smoking, allowing patients to vaporize or consume edible forms of the drug instead. Morgan, who largely bankrolled the ballot initiative, says the rule violates the intent of Amendment 71. 71% of Floridians supported.
The people of Florida knew exactly what they were voting on when they voted. And when they were voting on it, the vast majority, if not 100%, knew that smoke was included. So the fact that we're here today is really unnecessary, but here we go.
House Majority Leader Ray Rodriguez responded, no other medicines are smoked and dosage can't be controlled when smoking. He added if Morgan wanted Floridians to be able to smoke medical marijuana, he should have declared it in the amendment. Here on the Suncoast, Bradenton police are investigating a double shooting that sent 2 teenagers to the hospital. Police were called to a home on the 1900 block of 6th Avenue East around 11:30 this morning, where they found 2 victims. According to neighbors, the victims are 19-year-old Rufus Adams and his 12-year-old brother. Police say the older brother was fighting with his stepfather, 36-year-old Joshua Rapola. Rufus pulled a gun, and Rapola responded with his own handgun. He then shot his stepsons. The older brother is in critical condition with a gunshot wound to the head and upper body, and his younger brother is in stable condition with a wound to the lower body.
And the shooting took place inside the house. They're working to establish what happened, why it happened, again, why people were there. That's what we're working on. We do have some witnesses that are cooperating at this time. We're working with them.
Them kids used to play and stuff. I go by there and see them. They never had a problem like this here. So I just feel for the community.
Officers say the shooting of the 12-year-old appears to be accidental. We'll have more details on this developing story coming up tonight at 11. Bradenton's Housing Authority is ending its no weapons policy for residents after being accused of violating federal and state law. According to the Housing Authority's executive director, the language for residents' leases is being changed, allowing them to keep firearms in their homes. However, the vetting process for residents will now be revised. The Housing Authority's attorney and city commissioners will have to give their approval before the changes can go into effect. Sarasota County could be on the hook for $300 million in medical bills because of a ruling from the Florida Supreme Court. Today, justices ruling an obscure law requires the county to reimburse all public and private hospitals for indigent care. Private hospitals discovered the law and began submitting bills to the county, which refused to pay them. The hospitals sued, and while trial and appellate courts ruled in favor of the county, the state Supreme Court overturned those decisions. A spokesman for the Sarasota County says in an effort to protect taxpayer dollars, the county intends to vigorously defend the lawsuit on a number of grounds which were not before the Florida Supreme Court. The city of Sarasota is starting a new citizens advisory board to create policies for tree removals. The idea is meant to be a compromise between residents and developers. The board will review current code. The hope is the new rules will create more flexibility for developers and property owners. Experts warn these rules can be hard to write and even harder to enforce.
Every tree is different, and every location of every tree is different. And there are a lot of factors to consider when you're looking at a piece of a property where you have different trees throughout the property.
Commissioners plan to appoint board members in August. A 69-year-old Sarasota man is charged with trafficking cocaine after a search found nearly 35 grams of the drug inside his vehicle. Sheriff's deputies pulled over Joseph Balcom Monday night on Stickney Point Road. After smelling marijuana, deputies searched his vehicle. Cocaine was found in several envelopes. Balcom is out on bail. A scam alert for viewers who recently bought a new or used vehicle. You may be receiving notices in the mail labeled urgent notice or final notice. Experts say this could actually be a third party trying to trick you into buying an extended warranty. Scammers use registration information from the DMV to target people on the anniversaries of when they bought their car. While the warranty they're selling could be legitimate, it is often inferior to those who bought it through a dealership. Bob, a beautiful day today, if not very hot.
Yeah, temperatures into the low 90s, fairly typical for this time of year. The heat index up approaching 100 degrees. There are some storms around that are cooling things down, though, Alan, right now near Venice, also Osprey, down to Inglewood. Some big storms firing up. There was a water spot at one point just around before 6 o'clock near Port Charlotte and Punta Gorda, right there in Charlotte Harbor. And then a wind gust up to 50 miles an hour also recorded down south near Charlotte Harbor. Those storms are now pushing offshore for the most part. One near Arcadia heading toward Hidden River, also some activity there. Right now the rain is fairly heavy near Venice and Nokomis, stretching up to near Osprey. Osprey will get some rainfall there. Palma Ranch will also possibly get a few showers. But the trend of this particular storm is weakening right now, although there are some lightning strikes occurring in downtown Venice, stretching off toward Citrus Avenue near Nokomis and Albee Farm Road. Now, to the east of that, we do have another storm system, which that too is weakening. You can see the lightning strikes not nearly as strong. Manatee County checking clear right now. We'll keep a 20% chance for a late night shower from the outflow from some of those storms down to your south in the forecast through this evening. Currently at the Sarasota Braden Airport, we have sunshine there. Heat index at 97. And winds out of the west-northwest at 10. The pressure rising 30.10 right now. And in the tropics, we continue to watch tropical depression number 4. It's way out there in the central Atlantic. You'll notice it's really quite void of any deep convection right now. There is some swirling going on there, but dry air entrained into the system out ahead of it is really quite hostile for it, and that means it's not going to have much of a chance of graduating into a tropical storm. The next name up would be Don, so we're waiting to see if that happens.
As far as I'm concerned, it could just stay way out there.
Way out there in the Atlantic.
All right, thanks a lot, Bob. And still to come, trying to keep medical marijuana out of the Suncoast. Sarasota City Commissioners are extending a ban on dispensaries, but does the decision conflict with state law? We'll have the details when we return.
Tomorrow at 5 on ABC7's Good Morning Suncoast.
Hello, I'm Jacqueline Matter.
And I'm Ray Collins. Having a sweet tooth can be contagious.
But if you're an expecting mom, you could be raising the risk of your child developing allergies or asthma. The potential link tomorrow on Good Morning Suncoast. John?
After today's dry weather, the rain chances go up tomorrow. We'll give you the numbers.
Tomorrow at 5 on ABC7's Good Morning Suncoast. We're here for you.
Everything all right?
Actually, you know how Tom had knee surgery?
Sure.
We found out Brad's been taking his painkillers. And it turns out he's been doing it for a while.
Most people don't know what to say about drugs, but we do. Visit us at drugfree.org.
Outdoor living is one of the greatest perks about living in Florida. So whether this is your style, or this, or maybe this, contact Superior Pools. They've been building pools from Sarasota to Naples since 2001, and they would love to build yours.
Designers do it with style.
Tell me what's going on here.
Why, you don't like my hair?
The Mark and Mandy Show. In-depth design ideas.
What is up with the tuck tape here? Let's cover it up.
Amazing beauty and fashion tips.
So Halle Berry has amazing skin. Her secret is coffee grounds.
No.
Delicious recipes.
Today, I'm going to show you a special dish that is sure to please the special someone in your life.
Watch the Mark and Mandy Show right here on your favorite channel.
ABC7, My Suncoast News. We're here for you. Watch My Suncoast News wherever you are. On our live stream, on our newly redesigned mysuncoast.com, and and a brand new ABC7 My Suncoast app, powered by the Eye Associates, providing sight for life, featuring traffic maps and live radar, and dining with recipes at all the hottest Suncoast restaurants. Visit mysuncoast.com and click on the mobile tab to download the ABC7 My Suncoast app for iOS and Android.
Enjoy some of the best Suncoast restaurants on me. Just go to mysuncoast.com/dining, sign up for the newsletter if you haven't already, and you can win a $50 gift card to a restaurant in our area. We'll pick a winner each week, so go on our website and sign up now.
70% of voters across Florida may have approved medical marijuana last fall. The legislature adopted rules and Governor Rick Scott signed them into law last month. But while medical marijuana is now available, you're not going to be able to buy it, at least for now, in Sarasota. And Kate Flexter is here to tell us why. Kate.
Thanks, Alan. Law enforcement agencies and local governments now have guidelines to follow, but they're still figuring out what this law will look like within their own communities. For Richard Watt, a seizure can strike at any time.
One seizure could be your last seizure. You never knew.
It's a condition he's suffered from for 8 years, relying on as many as 30 to 40 prescription pills each day. And after using medical cannabis for 2 months, he's seizure-free. But Watt is the first to admit even he was skeptical at first.
I thought people just wanted to get high. And to me, that's not what it is. To me, it's getting normal.
He's one of more than 18,000 patients in Florida now allowed to legally purchase and consume cannabis, following a November vote to legalize medical marijuana in the state, a measure passed by 71% of voters. For months, state legislators debated how to implement the law, leaving local governments and law enforcement agencies in limbo. After much debate and a special session, lawmakers came to an agreement. For patients, there are a few major sticking points. For one, the law bans smoking of the drug. Plus, since marijuana is still considered an illegal substance on the federal level, cardholders can be fired for a failed drug test.
It's okay for somebody with Oxycontin or Xanax to go to work on their lunch break and go pop a couple pills, but if I was to come home and self-medicate that night and go to work and have a surprise drug test the next morning, I would lose my job.
The law also says local governments have to treat dispensaries just as they would treat the average drugstore. It's a prospect that worries law enforcement.
You can't control their hours, whether they have a drive-through, their distance, or anything like that.
At the Sarasota Police Department, Captain Corinne Stanish says that could pose a major risk to public safety. That's why she encouraged city commissioners to pass a temporary ban on dispensaries, which they did last week. Stanish clarifies the goal is not to restrict access to medical marijuana. She points to the option for delivery and the Bradenton dispensary to open in August.
What we want to do is have a more conservative approach, sit back and try to prevent some of the public safety issues that we know could come with it, but not at the expense of the citizens.
She's also advocating for officers to have access to the compassionate use registry so they can differentiate between who's legally possessing the drug and who's not.
If an officer stops somebody on a traffic stop, we want the ability to be able to verify that they are in legal possession of their medical marijuana.
It's all part of the learning curve for this new law. But Watt worries this time of ambiguity might deter someone from considering medical marijuana.
It's such a gray area right now for everybody, and I think that's what's stopping a lot of people from getting the help that they actually need.
He points to himself as an example of what it can do.
I'm back to Rick again. I'm back to being the husband I was, the uncle I was, the son I was, and I'm back. And I've been gone a long time, and it feels good to be back.
This piece of legislation will also allow 10 more medical marijuana dispensaries to open by October 3rd.
Kate, thank you. And coming up, a member of the Sarasota City Commission and a physician in favor of medical marijuana when we take it to the trapezoid.
It's been about a month, and I can honestly say I've seen the change in me. I went from being a depressed girl who didn't want help to this happy, caring girl who loves helping other people. I just really hope that people that went through what I went through get the help that they need, because their story is important and they are loved. Thank you so much for everything.
We asked you, Suncoast, why do you like ABC7?
I like ABC7 because it's local.
It gives me all the local news. The local news, local weather.
It's so local and so community driven.
Haley Wilgus does a great job.
John Scalzi, that's my guy.
Bob Harrigan is wonderful. Stephanie's my favorite.
I like Scott Dennis.
I like them all.
We're all very grateful that you cover what you do and you're here to participate with the community.
ABC7, your Suncoast News. We're here for you.
When my youngest, Addie, was 2.5, she was diagnosed with leukemia. When we first heard that diagnosis, you feel extremely alone. Walking in that Light the Night light with 6,000 people carrying lights, white for survivors, red for supporters, gold in memory of those who have passed. It's the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society's hope that every year there are fewer gold lanterns. Your lantern will make a difference.
Start a team, join a team.
Help us light the night.
Invest in Kids is a $7.5 million project to build a new Boys and Girls Club in South Manatee County. I'm Caleb Grimes, and I was a club kid. It's where I learned important life lessons, leadership, integrity, responsibility, and baseball. Thousands of kids attend the Boys and Girls Clubs, and after years of use, their club is slowly falling apart. Help us invest in kids. Make your donation today.
Thank you.
Here we go. We're gonna go out there in the rain. It's gonna get wet. All right, here we go. Okay, quick. Oh yeah, yes. So much fun. Mwah. We're getting so wet.
Welcome back. Medical marijuana is now available in Florida, but you won't be able to get it right now in Sarasota. This week, city commissioners voted to ban marijuana dispensaries in Sarasota, but directed staff to come up with an ordinance that will eventually allow them. The problem is commissioners wanted restrictions backed by the police and city attorney banning dispensaries from operating in residential neighborhoods and prohibiting drive-through windows, but the new state law signed by Governor Rick Scott forbids communities from enacting rules more restrictive than those outlined by the legislature. And joining us for more on medical marijuana is Dr. Barry Gordon, chief physician at the Compassionate Cannabis Clinic in Venice, and Liz Albert, vice mayor of the city of Sarasota. And Liz, let me start with you.
Okay.
Didn't city commissioners know that that you cannot have an ordinance that would have been more restrictive than what the state law called for?
No, because they didn't pass that until the special session. So that was just done in the beginning of June. So what we were planning was a restriction where there would be maybe in office areas and other commercial areas that we thought would be appropriate for this sort of thing. But so this was kind of a monkey wrench for us to find out that we weren't going to be able to control that.
What is the biggest concern about having dispensaries, whether it's close to neighborhoods? I mean, after all, we have Walgreens and CVS in residential neighborhoods. And what kind of problems do you think that could result in?
Well, here's what, the concerns that I have, and that, the police department and others who are more expert in this than I am have conveyed to me. If you can only regulate them as you do pharmacies in the city, you can have them in any zone where a pharmacy can go. So we're going to start out with 17 licensees in the state of Florida that can have 25 dispensaries. So let's say at St. Armand's Circle, we have 10 of them that want to open in competition with each other. They could potentially not only take over a whole district, but you also have the safety concerns in that it's an all-cash, very lucrative business. So you have the potential of robbery of the place itself. You have the potential of robbery of the patient. So it's going to require more law enforcement.
Dr. Gordon, I mean, that is a legitimate point, because after all, CVS and Walgreens deals with credit cards and so forth. If you're dealing with a cash-only business, that does make you ripe for some kind of abuses that other pharmacies wouldn't have.
You know, it's one of the complicating things that we see, Alan, because of the Schedule I designation, of course, at the federal level, the banking restrictions and making it a cash business and things of that nature. But believe me, I can well reassure you that the security within the dispensaries is at the highest level.
Well,
and that's required actually within the legislation itself.
What is the history here? How has this worked in other states? And Liz, the concerns that the police department and the city attorney and yourself have may be legitimate, but is it hypothetical, or is there really kind of a history in other places where this has become problematic?
Well, without knowing what the laws are in other areas, you know, we don't know for sure, and that's one of the things that the staff is going to bring back to us. But, you know, we do know that in places such as Colorado, where it is recreational and not just medical, there, for instance, was an area called Antique Row. That is not Antique Row anymore. Now it's Green Row. Every place has been taken over by marijuana shops. Would that happen with medical marijuana? We don't know if that would or not, but you do have pharmacies who, you know, a Walgreens opens on one corner, CVS opens on the other corner. There is going to be a lot of competition, and I think a lot of, you know, desire to open several in one area.
We have less than a minute left, but I want to give you a chance to respond to that.
Well, you know, I think, Alan, what this points out to me is that it's been a big difficulty for the legislature to separate out recreational from medicinal cannabis. And I think we need to continue to focus on that. I brought some products in today to show.
And I want to talk about that, but isn't that kind of a slippery slope? I mean, Colorado began with, you know, medical marijuana and went to recreational.
I think what every state and every community has shown, that once things die down to a certain extent, it becomes just like any other pharmacy, Alan. And I think that's what the research shows.
We will take just a quick break. We are just getting started, and we'll pick up our discussion right after we check on the weather, so stay with us.
If you want 24/7 access to ABC7's breaking news stories, weather forecasts, traffic alerts, health reports, Suncoast View, and more ABC7 programming, now there's good news. Introducing the free ABC7 channel on Amazon Fire TV. Your 24/7 access to ABC7. Just search ABC7 on the streaming device and download the free ABC7 channel app. Or if you don't have an Amazon Fire TV, you can get one at Amazon.com.
This is an important medical announcement. Xarelto and Pradaxa have been linked to uncontrollable bleeding and even death. If you've been prescribed one of these drugs and have experienced these dangerous side effects, you may be entitled to substantial compensation. Studies show that Pradaxa can cause more heart attacks than warfarin, and other countries have already issued safety warnings against this drug. Call now for a free assessment of your case and potential money damages. The call is confidential, there's no cost, and you may be eligible. Juries have awarded millions of dollars to Pradaxa victims, and thousands of Xarelto victims are filing their legal cases. Call the Drug Watch hotline if you or a loved one used Xarelto or Pradaxa and experienced uncontrollable bleeding, brain hemorrhage, or even death. You must call now.
Call 800-747-0618. 800-747-0618.
I am a veteran. My victory was finding the strength to be a champion.
My victory is having a job I can be proud of.
At DAV, we help veterans get the benefits they've earned.
My victory was finishing my education.
My victory was getting help to put our lives back together.
DAV provides veterans with a lifetime of support.
My victory is being there for my family.
Help us support more victories for veterans. Go to DAV.org.
I took my first handful of pills, and that's when all my priorities seemed to change.
He would ask to use the bathroom in other people's homes.
He just assumed that they would have medication.
He'd go in their medicine cabinets and steal prescription drugs.
I wish I knew really what these prescription pills were.
We were so naive about the whole drug thing.
These are all synthetic forms of heroin.
Keep your medication locked up because you'll never notice that a pill is gone.
Mind your meds. Learn more from the Partnership for Drug-Free Kids.
Our discussion of medical marijuana legalization and restrictions continues in a moment, but right now let's get a check on our forecast from Chief Meteorologist Bob Harrigan.
Thanks, Alan. A photo sent in from our viewer down in Port Charlotte near Cape Hayes.
of the beginning of a waterspout that formed there in Charlotte Harbor right around 5:45 as a line of intense storms blew up and moved through, producing frequent lightning, heavy rainfall, and this waterspout that you see forming right there at around 5:45 this afternoon. All that now offshore, pushing away from the coast. A light rain lingering now from Charlotte Harbor northward through Venice. A couple of lightning strikes still occurring. So even though the rain is lessening and you're not getting as many lightning strikes, there's still the potential there, at least for the next half hour or so. Rain moving up and down near Turtle Beach and heading towards Siesta Key. This activity, though, is winding down. You can see that quite clearly by this cell, which was very intense about a half hour ago, now is for the most part gone. Just some light rain, residual rain. There's that waterspout I mentioned at 5:45, and that moved on and then quickly off toward the northwest. So it was only around for a short period of time, and we are anticipating that light rain to linger down there. Now the dry air is in place with the tropical depression number 4. This is TD number 4, and it doesn't appear that it's ever going to gain strength strong enough to get to tropical storm status. The reason why on this water vapor imagery, you see all this dry air, well, it's being entrained in the system. What that means is it's being absorbed into the center of that system. On top of that, this is a big trough of low pressure here with strong upper level winds. You need light winds for storms to develop and get stronger. So with that in place, we're not going to see anything with that one over the upcoming few days. Looks like it's going to stay as a little swirl out there in the Atlantic, moving off to the west-northwest. For us, high pressure still in control. We do have some dry air in place here too at the mid to upper levels of the atmosphere. That's limited our thunderstorm activity today, and it still feels like 97, and the dew point is pretty standard this time of year at 72 degrees. The high today was 1 degree above average. The low was right at the average of 75. And it looks as though we'll see similar conditions again tomorrow, with a better chance for storms comes this weekend as more moisture returns. For the month now, just under an inch of rain at the Sarasota-Braden Airport. Temperatures, because of the lack of rain, still very hot at this hour, upper 80s to low 90s up and down the coast, although it has cooled considerably where the rain has moved through into Inglewood, Plantation, Northport now, all into the upper 70s to near 80 degrees. Venice at 83 with some light rain. For boaters tomorrow, looks good. Light chop out there. Seas running less than 2 feet. And the water temperature about as hot as it gets, 91 degrees. The UV index at 10. And as far as the tides go upcoming, low tide will be at 7. Well, we just had it, 7:23. A high tide will be at 1:52 in the morning. The forecast tonight, isolated storm, otherwise fair, 76 for your low. Most of the rain will be over by 8, 9 o'clock. And then partly cloudy, a 30% chance for storms tomorrow. And the heat index about 102. The extended forecast calling for better chances for that afternoon and evening variety of storms right through the weekend and beyond. Alan will be back with the guests right after this. Stick around.
When it comes to drinking, what do you think moderation is? The U.S. Dietary Guidelines define moderation as up to 1 drink a day for women and up to 2 drinks a day for men. So what's a drink? The guidelines say a drink equals 12 ounces of beer, 5 ounces of wine, or a cocktail with 1.5 ounces of distilled spirits. Each contains the same amount of alcohol. Like to learn more? Visit drinkinmoderation.org.
Attention, Americans eligible for Medicare. Are you getting all the benefits you're entitled to? Did you know there may be money available to lower your medical prescription costs? Call Health Markets and we'll tell you if you qualify.
Hi, I'm Dr. Martin Jeetsi. It's a new Medicare year. That means more changes and more confusion. The key question is, what can you do now to ensure you get the care you need in the coming year?
Call Health Markets today. You may qualify to save money on prescriptions. We'll help you find plans that may cost less, cover more, and could even lower your prescription costs to increase your savings. We help you find all the benefits you're entitled to, and we do it at no cost.
Make sure you have what you need to get the care that's right for you.
Find out if you qualify to receive extra help with your prescriptions. Call the number on the screen now. Representatives are standing by.
Florida's coral reefs are declining. Bad news for our oceans and marine life. Fortunately, you can help, and you don't have to dive, you just have to drive. When you purchase Moat's Protect Our Reefs license plate, $25 goes directly to Moat Marine Laboratory, whose research, restoration, and conservation programs are helping this precious natural resource thrive once again. So get your Moat Protect Our Reefs license plate today. You just might hold the key to saving Florida's reefs.
My name is Stephen Jaffe, the The law firm's name is Farmer Jaffe. One of the beautiful things about Julius is he's always smiling, and it becomes infectious. The fact that Julius has a disability has absolutely nothing to do with the quality of work that he's done. Just a great person you want on your staff.
Hi, this is Dan Marino. When your business recruits people with disabilities, everybody wins. To find out how, go to disabilitieswork.employflorida.com.
Welcome back. If you're just joining us, we are discussing the legalization of medical marijuana in Florida and the restrictions still in place against patients and dispensaries. Our guests tonight are Dr. Barry Gordon of the Compassionate Cannabis Clinic in Venice and Sarasota Vice Mayor Liz Albert. And before we move on this subject, Liz, I wanted to ask you, what is the range of opinions on the City Commission, and is it influenced by the fact that the police department seems to be more conservative in terms of welcoming in this new law?
Well, I want to clarify that I don't get a chance to talk to my commissioners, fellow commissioners, except at the commission meetings.
And it caused a little trouble, I've heard.
Yes, yes. So, but my sense was Monday night at our commission meeting when we discussed this, that I felt like everybody on the commission was actually for trying to make it work, to have dispensaries in the city. But I do want to make it clear, though, that it doesn't mean people can't have medical marijuana in the city. They can have it delivered, or they can go to the Bradenton dispensary once it's opened in August. So, they will have access to it. It's just, will there be dispensaries in the city? And I think our concern was just how much proliferation there could be. As I said, the number, and that they could be in residential neighborhoods, they could be anywhere. And I know we've got citizens who are concerned about, businesses going, the types of businesses going in their area.
Doctor, isn't that a legitimate concern? Because, yes, we have free enterprise, and if something catches on, that's how our economy works, and you don't have these, you don't have rows and rows of pharmacies like Walgreens and CVS in one area. It's not a cultural thing like it has become in places in Colorado like Denver.
I don't think there's going to be rows and rows of medicinal cannabis dispensaries, Alan. Each dispensary organization is only allowed 20 about the entire state.
No,
now there's some phase-ins, or 25, I'm sorry, sure. And there's phase-ins for more patients getting into the registry as time goes by.
Yeah, and then that's going to grow. So, and they're going to open in the areas where they can, and in the more urban areas, more likely, where they can sell a lot. I mean, it is a very, very lucrative business. So a lot of people are going to, if they can get into it.
But so are liquor stores.
Yeah, but we can regulate how many liquor stores and where they go.
Well, and I think the regulation of the dispensaries is not unreasonable. I just think an outright ban is difficult for patients. You have to remember that delivery charges occur when dispensary delivers. Patients would have to drive to Bradenton. So
they would either have to, which would be like driving maybe from Longboat Key to Sarasota Memorial to get a test. I mean, it would only be about, I think, 14 miles. Not, and you can get as much as a 90-day supply, is what I understand.
That's true. But you have to remember that the level of debilitation of a lot of the patients is such that that 14-mile drive may be a considerable effort for them.
I would ask a question, but you both are doing a good job of making very good points. But, Doctor, let me ask you about this. And you brought some show and tell today. And the differences, I understand that, is some of the product that you have there has THC, which is the active ingredient that makes people high. Some doesn't. And as we just saw earlier in the show, John Morgan is suing the state, saying that in writing the ballot initiative, people were supposed to be allowed to smoke marijuana and not just vape it or apply it in oils. What's the difference?
Well, there's a big difference. Smoking, of course, is combustion of the leaf of the cannabis plant itself. When you talk about the vaping, you talk about products that come in a cartridge such as this, where you put it onto a battery and the vape comes out of the end, and it's a water-based process, right? And it's supposed to be much more effective for the, as far as protecting the lungs. But the key, Ellen, is that this type of delivery method gives the patient control over the delivery in a much better fashion than other methods do.
So two questions, or a number of questions. Number one, is smoking it a more efficacious way of ingesting it?
Smoking it allows you to use the entire cannabis product itself in what's called the entourage fashion. In other words, you want not just the THC, but the CBDs and the other 140 components of the plant.
But obviously it's not good for your lungs.
Well, there's a lot of things that aren't good for your lungs. Smoking cigarettes, of course, aren't good for your lungs, and alcohol causes significant brain, heart, and liver damage. So I think, once again, you're talking about an individual choice and doctor-patient discussion to make sure that you limit the risks for patients. But, you know, let's face it, if you're a terminal cancer patient and the smoking delivery method is how you can really get your best relief from nausea, from the severe cachexia or the wasting syndrome that occurs, that patient should be allowed to use the medicine as they choose.
And of course, that in our earlier story, the Republican leader in the Senate said that when you smoke it, you cannot control the dosage as you can in these other.
I'm so glad you brought that up, Alan. You know, doctors are funny, and I've been one for 35 years. Doctors want control. They want to say 10 milligrams 3 times a day for 10 days. You do this or you're not a good patient. With cannabis, it's the opposite. Doctors can give patients control because there's literally no overdosing of cannabis, so the risk profile is very low. So each patient gets a chance to find their individual mark, that sweet spot, so to speak, with the combination of the CBD and the THC product. And the dispensaries are key in that. They act like a pharmacist.
Liz, are you concerned that if John Morgan's lawsuit is successful and you're bringing this other element in, that it's really kind of changing what you're all thinking about in terms of trying to regulate it here in Sarasota?
I don't think it changes, you know, whether, you know, the idea behind the dispensaries. You know, as I said, we really had planned to pass an ordinance to get dispensaries, and the only reason we can't do an ordinance now is we just didn't have time to do something, and we had decided that July 17th our moratorium was going to go away because we wanted to get dispensaries in Sarasota as soon as possible. But with the smoking, my question, I actually asked the you know, police department, why can't people smoke it? Because I just assumed when I voted for it that people would be able to smoke. And they talked about the issue of, as you said, it's harmful to your lungs, so how can you tell people to do that? But also the smoking in public. You know, what about the secondhand smoke that somebody else is breathing in, the marijuana air? I mean, I'm not an expert on that, but that's what, you know, some of the things that they said, and you can't, you know, even if you have a no smoking area, can you stop people from smoking marijuana because that's their medicine?
Doctor, that's a legitimate question because I know, speaking for myself personally, I do not like smelling cigarette smoke out in public. It bothers a lot of people. There are concerns about secondhand smoke. Now you put on top of it, it's not just tobacco that you're smelling, it could be marijuana. That's something that, you know, for years that we have not really, it has not been acceptable.
Well, smoking of anything in public isn't allowed, Alan. You can't smoke cigarettes, of course, in a restaurant and a bar. And smoking of cannabis was never going to be allowed in any bill coming out of the legislative level. And that's quite frankly not what the whole discussion is about. It's private use within the home. I don't think anybody has ever been asking to smoke cannabis out in a public place.
Does that answer your question?
I think, you know, I mean, theoretically, that sounds good, but if somebody really needs their medicine at that point, how do you in a public place say you can't smoke it? You know, I'm not saying whether I'm for or against it, but those are the reasons that I was given as to why smoking could be problematic, and that's why the legislature
we
said
have less
we
than a
couldn't
minute
have
left, but I want to, I mean, we're not the first state to be grappling with this issue. Have other states, you know, legalize this without putting people who have concerns?
You know, Alan, when I was in one of the other times with you, I said, why are we trying to reinvent the wheel here in Florida? There are other states, of course, that have implemented this very appropriately. And I think, you know, looking at those states for guidelines is very, very appropriate. And, you know, Vice Mayor Alpert, I say to you that you're, as the council is, they're negotiating through the fog of implementation right now, which is quite frankly what I've been doing for 6 months. I respect the council's decision and processing going through, and I can see that I think ultimately we will come through for the patients here in Sarasota.
Let's take a quick break, and when we return, we'll have final thoughts from our guests, plus what some of our viewers are saying about last night's topic, the rising boom of Suncoast real estate. real estate market.
Have you ever wondered what it's like to save a life? Find out by donating platelets at Suncoast Blood Bank.
I'm Haley Wilgus, ABC7. Platelets aid in the clotting process and are vital in the treatment of cancer and surgical patients, trauma victims, and critically ill newborns. It's tough to keep enough on the shelves because they only last 5 days. To donate, call this number or visit scbb.org and you can help save a life.
ABC7 congratulates Suncoast Blood Bank on 65 years of serving our community.
My name is Luke Perry, and I am 1 million strong. I'm in the fight against colorectal cancer because I believe we can win it. Colon and rectal cancers are the second leading cause of cancer deaths among men and women in the U.S. Colon cancer is preventable. Know the risk factors and make sure to get screened. There are simple take-home options available. Take control of your health. Screening for colon cancer isn't embarrassing. It can be life-saving. To find out more about your options, visit fightcrc.org.
Your daughter just had her first breakup. Do you A, put yourself in her shoes? B, console her?
Don't worry, sweetie. This is gonna happen a lot.
Or C, find her a new boyfriend?
Nice, single boys. That was weird.
As a parent, there are no perfect answers. But you don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent. Thousands of teens in foster care will love you just the same.
Check out My Suncoast Dining on mysuncoast.com, your guide to the foodie lifestyle. ABC7's own Chef Judy serves up her favorite recipes, cooking tips and trends, dining blogs, step-by-step videos, and Suncoast Restaurant Guide. You'll find it all at mysuncoast.com/dining.
Welcome back. Where should we go with medical marijuana dispensaries being allowed to set up shop? Should patients be allowed to smoke medical cannabis? And what kind of changes can we expect to see when the law goes into effect further in October? Our guests join us right now for final thoughts. Liz, were any of your questions answered tonight?
Probably not. I mean, maybe a little bit in terms of looking at, you know, how the doctor sees what's going to happen, but I still don't think it affects the underlying issue that the commission has, because we also have, you know, we have to balance people in our neighborhoods who complain about traffic. One of the biggest issues that we deal with in the city is the increased traffic. I mean, we had one area where, you know, traffic was going to increase just 1 car an hour, and the neighbors you know, didn't want a facility opening. So, you know, we're going to have to balance both people, the people who want the dispensaries and the people who don't want increased traffic in their neighborhood.
Doctor, I mean, there is concern about whether these places will become almost, you know, in small versions, a mecca for people coming into the area where they may not be wanted. You know, how do you respond to this?
Well, you know, I respond by saying, Alan, I would invite anybody to come down to my clinic, see the type of patients that are coming in to see me, average age 54. And these are medical patients. And I think the outlook will change as time goes by, and council and other legislative type of folks see that these are just average Floridians, quite frankly, that are looking for another alternative to their pain, their anxiety, their depression, and the other medical problems that they have.
I don't think the issue is who's getting it. I don't think you know, I think all of us feel that people who have medical needs should be able to get it and don't have any kind of preconceived notion about the kind of person. It is still just having the control over the zoning and the number and where they where they're located.
Yeah.
All right, and we have to leave it there. Thank you both for joining us. Before we go, we want to share with you what some of our viewers are saying about last night's topic, the housing market on the Suncoast. In the wake of the recession, the real estate market is making a major comeback. The prices of homes, condos, and townhouses all went up more than 7% in just the past year. Economists say as long as people keep moving to our state, the boom will continue. We asked what you think of your experience has been in the local housing market, and Nikki Velasquez says, it seems like everyone wants to buy new construction, made selling our house very challenging. April Akano writes, just sad because you know people who buy those new houses didn't grow up here. Sure, they look all nice, but they are out of my reach. And Kimberly Flaridge writes, and when will the next bubble going to bust? Well, what do you think about medical marijuana in our state? Join tonight's conversation by visiting our Facebook page at facebook.com/news7. And FYI, you can watch past roundtable discussions. They're on demand. They're available on Apple TV, Amazon Fire, and Roku. Thanks to both our guests for being here tonight. Dr. Barry Gordon is the chief physician at the Compassionate Cannabis Clinic in Venice, and Liz Albert is the vice mayor of the city of Sarasota. When we return, we'll have a final look at your weather, plus looking to the stars. Vice President Mike Pence is leading a new effort to send the U.S. to send astronauts into space. We'll have details from his visit to the Kennedy Space Center in our prime time headlines.
That is a pretty good breakfast. You're not even eating.
Not hungry.
No? Why not? What's up?
Kath and I knew that Jenny'd been partying a bit. Found out she tried heroin.
Most people don't know what to say about drugs, but we do. Visit us at drugfree.org.
My name is Julius. I have cerebral palsy. I work for Farmer Jaffe Weising Law Firm. I do a lot of data entry and scanning documents. I want to increase my working experience to make the company much better. At the end of the day, it's good to think of the day's work and to think about what I have accomplished.
Hi, this is Dan Marino. When your business recruits people with disabilities, everybody wins. To find out how, go to abilitieswork.employflorida.com.
Are you Goodwill?
Yes, because when I donate
or shop at Goodwill,
I'm creating a job.
I am Goodwill, yeah, yeah.
We answered the call of duty and left our homes to serve in far-off lands. Now, we answer another call, this time at home, in our own communities, to respond in times of chaos, to use our strength, our skills, and our experiences to bring hope amid devastation and destruction. Together, as a team of brothers and sisters, we're continuing our mission to make this country a little stronger and a little better each day. We are Team Rubicon.
From meeting curious lemurs to feeding big cats and hosing down rhinos, there's never a dull moment. And sometimes these amazing animals chime in. Watch Animal Outtakes every week on ABC7.
Your primetime headlights are coming up in a moment, but right now let's get a final check on our forecast from Chief Meteorologist Bob Harris. Bob.
Well, the good news is it's light rain now, no severe weather around, no big storms at this point, and it looks like the lightning, for the most part, is over, although we have to keep an eye on these cells right here. But as far as Sarasota, North Sarasota is concerned, just some light rainfall there. One just south of Venice, near Minnesota Beach and Inglewood. There's a chance to get a lightning strike there, one or two, before it's all said and done here this evening. They continue to push off into the Gulf of Mexico. And you can see there has been a couple of lightning strikes just within the last 15 minutes, just 3 it looks like at this point. At one point, they were up to 600 in just 15 minutes. And that rain is falling now in South Venice, all the way down to Minnesota Key Road, near Inglewood and northward up to Venice. And it looks as though the light rain continuing to linger near Aledo. Some of this may not even be reaching the ground, it may be evaporating before it does so, but Siesta Key getting some light rain at this point. Well, out in the tropics we go. We're watching the tropical depression number 4. Not much to it at all as it makes its way to the west. It's got some dry air out ahead of it and a lot of shear too. For us, high pressure is still in control. We had some drier air settle in, and that is for the most part shutting the storms down along the east coast and throughout the northeast. You still don't see much action there. It seems to have really exploded here over Fort Myers, Naples, and then into Charlotte Harbor as well this afternoon. 90 right now, it feels like 97. The dew point temperature at 72, and the pressure is rising. The high today was 91. 98 the record set in 2008, and no rainfall at the Sarasota Braden Airport so far for the month at 93/100 of an inch. As far as the hourly forecast goes, it looks like this. Temperatures will warm into the upper 80s tomorrow near the beaches. Now we'll see the low 90s. The feels like temperature will be right around 100 degrees in the afternoon, beginning at, let's say, 1 o'clock, continuing on. Now the futurecast showing just a few light rain showers still possible up until about 8:30, 9 o'clock. Then fair skies. Tomorrow, a slight chance for a few scattered storms along that sea breeze front, and that'll be it in the afternoon. Better chances come on Saturday and Sunday. Well, for boaters tomorrow, seas will be running less than 2 feet. Once again, pretty good boating throughout most of the day. And then the possibility of marine warnings like we've seen in the past couple of days, late in the afternoon and evening. Water temperature now at 91 degrees, and UV index will be high tomorrow. The next high tide will be at 1:52 in the morning, and the sunrise at 6:42. Isolated storms still possible, as I mentioned, up to about 9, and then mostly fair and warm. Lows in the mid-70s tomorrow. 30% chance for storms, a high near 92. And the extended forecast is calling for better chances for storms moving in over the weekend with highs in the low 90s. Alan will be back with primetime headlines right after this. Stick around.
I am powerful beyond my wildest imagination.
I will define my future.
I will keep challenging myself to improve.
Because I am a future leader of this great nation.
I will make a difference in my community.
I will not settle for simply chasing my dreams, I will achieve them.
Because I was given a chance.
An opportunity.
At Family, Career, and Community Leaders of America.
The ultimate leadership experience.
Join us. We'll build a new future together.
Northland Outdoors is about so much more than the biggest fish or the hottest hunting spots. All across the Northland, there are amazing people with incredible stories to tell. We're going to find those stories and share them with everyone. Join us each and every week as we explore the Northland and experience some of the most exciting outdoor adventures in the country right here in our own backyard. This is Northland Outdoors.
Save big during the 4th of July clearance and pay no interest for 48 months with same-day pickup or next-day delivery. This special purchase double reclining sofa for only $4.99. This special purchase white Florida bedroom for $5.99, and the matching nightstand is free. This special purchase Serta Perfect Sleeper Queen set for $3.99. Exclusively at the Furniture Warehouse in Sarasota, Bradenton, Veniceport, Charlotte, and Ellington.
And save big. Thanks to all of you who participated in ABC7's contest with a chance to win 4 Florida resident Disney Platinum Passes plus a 4-night stay at a Walt Disney World Resort Hotel.
So now it is time for our grand prize winner announcement.
Congratulations, Larry Phillips of Sarasota. Larry, his wife Carol, and their kids Bradley and Anna won a year of magic at Walt Disney World, where dreams come true. Congratulations from ABC7.
For more than 100 years, American Humane Association has been teaching kids to be kind to animals. Those in our homes, on the farms, on the silver screen, and wildlife conservation, caring for the world's vanishing creatures. But we can't do it alone. Visit kindness100.org to find ways to teach kids how they can make a more caring, compassionate, and humane world for all of us.
Now for your primetime headlines. President Trump's overseas trip continues. Tonight he is in Hamburg, Germany for the G20 summit. While Trump is expected to clash with world leaders over trade and climate change, the biggest expectations are on his meeting with Russian President Vladimir Putin. ABC's Maggie Rulli has more.
Using tear gas and water cannons, German police battle thousands of protesters demonstrating against capitalism outside the G20 summit. As President Trump touches down in Hamburg, he's greeted with a formal handshake from German Chancellor Angela Merkel. Just hours earlier, Merkel took what sounded like an indirect dig at President Trump, saying in globalization, there must not always be losers where there are winners.
Das ist eine Win-Win-Situation.
At almost the same time, President Trump had a subtle slight of his own against Germany.
The West became great, not because of paperwork and regulations,
but because people were allowed to chase their dreams.
The two don't see eye to eye on trade issues or climate change, both major topics at this year's G20. Also high on the list, North Korea.
It's a threat, and we will confront it very strongly.
And Russia. On Friday, President Trump sits down with Russian President Vladimir Putin for the first time. But today, he avoided placing the blame for last year's election hack solely on Russia.
I think it could very well have been Russia, but I think it could well have been other countries.
But 17 U.S. intelligence agencies have concluded that Russia meddled in the 2016 election, trying to help then-candidate Trump. The president's having dinner with the leaders of South Korea and Japan tonight. But again, all eyes are on that big meeting with Putin happening tomorrow. We're told the president is preparing by reviewing briefing books on U.S.-Russian relations. Maggie Rulli, ABC News, Washington.
Trump is condemning North Korea's recent missile launch. During his speech in Poland today, he said his administration will wait and see what happens with the North over the coming weeks, not going into specifics about the options on the table.
I had some pretty severe things that we're thinking about. That doesn't mean we're going to do them. I don't draw red lines. It's a shame that they're behaving this way, but they are behaving in a very, very dangerous manner, and something will have to be done about it.
Tuesday's missile launch was the most powerful and sophisticated yet for North Korea. Military experts say the intercontinental ballistic missile has the potential to reach the U.S. mainland. Vice President Mike Pence is in Florida today, getting an insider's look at NASA's Kennedy Space Center. Pence is leading a revived National Space Council that President Trump reestablished on Friday. This is the second stop on his NASA tour after visiting the Johnson Space Center in Houston last month. NASA hasn't sent an astronaut into space from Cape Canaveral since the shuttle program ended in 2011.
Under the leadership of President Donald Trump and with the guidance of the National Space Council, the United States of America will usher in a new era of space leadership that will benefit every facet of our national life.
Pence says he is optimistic about NASA's new Orion program and private space exploration ventures by Boeing and SpaceX. Speaking of SpaceX, the company successfully sent a communication satellite into orbit yesterday. The launch was initially planned for Sunday, but was pushed to Monday, and then it had to be postponed again. Wednesday's launch marks SpaceX's 10th launch so far in 2017, and it is the third in just 12 days. That's a big increase over last year when it launched 8 rockets in all of 2016. Florida's Department of Agriculture and the University of Florida are enlisting residents for a program called the Air Potato Patrol. The goal is to have people identify and report invasive air potato vines. The plants grow aggressively and can quickly overtake and kill other vegetation. It is found in 60 of Florida's 67 counties. And that's all the time we have for this evening. I'm Alan Cope. Thanks for joining us. Have a great night.